Sammy Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And can I first of all start off by welcoming the fact that for the 17th month in a row, Northern Ireland unemployment figures have fallen, and in my own constituency this time last year there were 513 more people who were out of work than there are today, and I think that has to be acknowledged. Though I've got to say that I believe it is partly due to the very hard work in the pro-business policies which are pursued by my colleagues in the Northern Ireland Assembly with the DUP Finance Minister and Industry Minister, who over the last year has announced 10,800 new jobs in Northern Ireland, 40% of which are jobs which have wages above the average for Northern Ireland. And I have no doubt that the context in which that has happened has been partly due to the increase and the improvement in the UK economy as a whole, in which they acknowledge that that is the case. However, I think it is also important to point out that there are many government policies which have actually acted as a counter to the work which has been done by the executive. And whether it's the reductions in public expenditure, £4 billion in an area which is very heavily dependent on public expenditure, or the inability to get to grips with the destructive attitudes and work of banks, especially RBS and its local bank, Ulster Bank, or indeed the removal of jobs from Northern Ireland in the centralisation programme in DVA and HMRC. All of those, I think, have acted as a counter. But nevertheless, I do believe that there is important things which the government can do. And I am disappointed that whilst the Queen's speech does talk about further fiscal and financial devolution for Scotland, there is an absence of any commitment to the devolution of corporation tax to Northern Ireland, which will of course give the Deputy Minister an additional lever when it comes to trying to attract jobs to Northern Ireland. One thing which, and it's a very short time, but one area that I do want to give support to the government on is the new direction, at least I hope it's a new direction, on energy policy. There is no doubt about it that the current policy of increasing reliance on renewables have pushed up energy costs, have lost jobs, especially in energy-intensive industries, have caused fuel poverty amongst many of our constituents. And indeed, today the National Grid has indicated that it is now actually paying firms to switch off power at times when wind speeds are low, because the renewables industry cannot cope with the kind of capacity issues which there are within the system. And therefore, the switch towards exploiting those fossil fuels which we have in the United Kingdom, I believe, is an important switch. The creation of the jobs, and it's already estimated that between 64 and 70,000 jobs, many of them high-paying jobs, will result from the exploitation of shale gas. Queen's University in Belfast have done a lot of research which has indicated that should shale gas in Northern Ireland be brought out of the ground, not only would it have an impact on the fuel security of Northern Ireland, but would also be an important impetus in driving new feedstocks for downstream industries which themselves would create further jobs. And therefore I welcome that particular initiative by the government. The second one that I want to welcome is the introduction of harsher penalties when it comes to breaches of minimum wage legislation. And it mustn't just be harsher penalties, but there must be greater enforcement, because there is nothing more destructive of local firms than those who break the rules being able to then exploit that breach of the rules and push other legitimate businesses out of business. And related to that, I believe that the anti-slavery bill plays an important part as well. And I hope that the government will include in that the supply chain outside the United Kingdom, so that firms within the United Kingdom don't get undercut by the use of slave labour in atrocious conditions in other parts of the world, and we couldn't and we shouldn't leave it to individual firms to check their supply chains. I believe that there needs to be legislation which forces firms to do that. All of these measures, I believe, will help to create additional jobs, and I hope that we will see in a year's time in Northern Ireland even fewer people on the dole, more people in productive work and work which pays.